Alrighty, hey guys, how's it going? Making sure I'm live over here. Welcome back to the DAE Create and Hang. I'm Henry. Today I'm working on a music video. So this over here is the song. I've got everything imported. A friend of mine out in Los Angeles is releasing his first album. under the name Alter Eagle, and this is the rough project. We only decided yesterday to do this, um, so here's the song. It sounds pretty good. I think I'm gonna lower it for the sake of editing so you guys can hear me okay while I'm also editing. Um, and the song itself is about a little bit about Sergei Eisenstein and a little bit about Don DeLillo, who wrote, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, he wrote a book called Underworld, which there's a part in Underworld where um, they I'm trying to think because it's a confusing book, but Eisenstein has made a movie that has like this sacred truth in it, and when Eisenstein finally shows um, the narrator the movie, the narrator can't cope with the truth that's in the movie, so he kind of just leaves, and Eisenstein leaves, and that's kind of where that situation ends. So it's about this movie that doesn't actually exist that Eisenstein never made. Um, so I think to start out, I'm just going to play around and try to montage some stuff. There's a specific scene in, I think it's the general line, where there's a sacred cow, and I know I want to use that because the cow. And Eisenstein was this guy who, in film history, did a lot for. He actually created montage theory, which is this idea that it's gonna be way too much video. That you can put two images that weren't made next to each other or weren't like shot consistently. So you could like, show a shot of one thing and then a shot of another thing. Like you could show a person's face reacting, and then you could show something, and you could change the second image out with any number of things, and that changes the way you would feel about the man. And that's just like one example of the kind of stuff that he worked with. Um, and the idea is just that these images hold a specific power, which otherwise you know one of the videos by themselves or one of the pieces of film by themselves wouldn't have been able to say the same thing. um so I think that's kind of how I'm approaching the video, is really getting into what the musician is trying to say and twist the images around, and reinterpret them a little bit. um might open up After Effects in a separate. I like that cow a lot. It's a pretty looking cow. Yeah, music videos are some of my favorite things to edit too, because they really just give you the freedom to really experiment with different stuff. So, and the beauty of this stuff too is, since Eisenstein was making movies in the early 1900s, pretty much I honestly think every single one of his film is public domain. So, Battleship Potemkin, which is, if you've ever taken a film history class, it's one of the first, you know, within the first couple of weeks you end up talking about this movie. Um, and it's a great piece of cinema and also a great piece of Russian history. And I wish more American films paid more attention to early Soviet um, filmmaking, just because he did such a good job of really theorizing, and like even outside of cinema he was just an incredible thinker, and the way that he approached um, the filmmaking was vastly different, and still remains vastly different from the way um, all these people in America approach it. Um, and it's definitely one of the movies that when I first saw it like 4 or 5 years ago in my film history class, really altered the way that I was looking at movies and thinking about movies. And I think what I want to steal here is these shots of the city. I don't know what I want to use them for yet, but cut that right there. Reverse speed. Then I'm going to double it. Throw that at the beginning. Because why not? And this is just kind of me experimenting with, you know, different approaches to making the video, because I think what I ultimately want to do is, export this version, bring it into After Effects, and then kind of chop up and do some overlaying animation, kind of in line with like early Monty Python stuff, and um, all all that kind of stuff. Like if you've ever seen Holy Grail, there's a um, really interesting way they use kind of just cut up images, like historical images and stuff like that, to tell parts of the story that otherwise they might not have been able to tell in the same way. Um, where can I throw this one? I have a feeling this entire Where's the battleship? Yeah. So this one was taken from a live filming of Battleship Potemkin. And that one might work here just because the song lyrics are talking about people watching his movie. Maybe that should be the one that's extremely large in the background. It should probably come in right when the lyrics start too. Right about there. That's the general line, that's Battleship Potemkin. So I'm going to take that one and blow it way up. Yeah, and I want it to feel like it's kind of taking place in a movie theater. Yeah, so this is the format of the first part. And I'm not exactly sure because this is black and white. Already seems to work a little bit. Let's look around for some other stuff. What's this down here? Spanish. The Odessa Steps. Ivan Le Terrible. Public domain mark. Yeah, a few minutes left on that one. And I'm trying to, I'd love to, is this one public domain? 1960s Soviet Union. This one's public domain too. I looked at this one earlier. Maybe H.264 would be the better option though. Yeah, this one's fun. Because I'm trying to get that like underworld, otherworldly kind of feeling. Where it's like historic but futuristic at the same time. And then that way I can animate over. I'm trying to remember where the exact website is that I used, but I know there was, maybe it was in downloads. I'm trying to remember where all these. No, it's not the clip art. Nope. Nope. did an animation with a bunch of like historically drawn flowers, which I know, I can't remember where I hit it. To the Sorry about this, guys. My girlfriend has a huge collection of public domain like flowers and bugs and stuff, and I want to do some animation with those. I really do love all these cows though. I don't think I've ever actually seen the general line, but now that I have it saved on my computer, I feel like that's the right way to do it. How close are we to downloading these two? Getting there. Save that. Cut these two. Give them some special effects. I like the data moshing. So I'm just adding layers to these so the effects drop off and on. I'm just trying to make sure it hits on the beat. So right there. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So the effects flicker on and off, kind of like a. And then maybe I'll. I'm trying to think of what the other one that I really like is. Trying to think. The beginning of music video editing for me, anyways, is always a ton of experimentation and pushing things way too far and then reeling them back in and trying to make sure it. Let me see if he sent me the lyrics yet. He has not sent me the lyrics yet. So I'm gonna. Okay, so we have these two new videos, so that's helpful. Let me see, put them in the right folders, because if I don't, then I'll never see them ever again. Alrighty. So we got Voyage, Ivan the Terrible. Battleship Potemkin, Ivan the Terrible. So I think I'm gonna try to do something funky with this one. Alright. So what I did was I looped that clip and now I'm going to nest it. We'll call this FX1. And now I have this overlay layer, so this will pop up over the entire thing. And what I'm going to do is go to Effect Controls, scale it all the way up so it covers everything, and then make it into, where are we? An overlay. And then gonna slow it down to 2% of its original speed. Which, let's see if what that does. So I don't love the red. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to change that. Let's throw a color correction layer on here. See what I can do. Let's make the film feel more faded. Let's desaturate it a little bit. I'm gonna put this one somewhere else, 'cause that's the middle one. And then this one. Still want the top layer to be a little freakier. Some presets. I go back to this. I think I'm gonna lower the opacity for this one. Whoa, my mouse is freaking out a little bit there. So I think, yeah, this is like my 5th or 6th music video in like the last year. And this one's definitely the least pressure, just given the fact that it's, um, for one of my close friends, and I understand, what he's looking for a little more than I think when when I've directed. Not that this is any less professional than most of what I would, um, direct, but yeah, I like the spinning effect. Slack messages. I still don't love how I might just desaturate this entire thing, to be completely honest. No, what exactly is causing? Alright, let's see if I can't transition that a bit better. And if none of this looks like it makes any sense, that's because it doesn't. And I'm kind of just throwing whatever I can at the wall until it sticks. Um, and aside from knowing um, the song is based off of Don DeLillo's Underworld and a Sergei Eisenstein movie that doesn't exist, um, that's what I'm going off of right now for this. Um, and it's just an act of experimenting. Which effect was that? Which one did I end up picking? So this one's got the effect. Neon flickering. Okay. speed is going to be 100 here. Times here. Video transitions. Let's do film dissolve right here. So that cut's not as jolting. Alright. Oh, my foot is so asleep. Alrighty. And this preset over here that I'm using too, 20 glitch transitions. If you go to cinecom.net, it's totally free to use, and it can do everything from. It's really handy for music videos for sure. It's come in handy for some other stuff, especially if you're trying to make stuff look like it was made in the 90s on like a low resolution camera or something like that. Because it can do, the data moshing stuff, and it can add digital noise, and it can do a bunch of stuff that you can already do a lot of that stuff in Premiere as it is, but the presets make it a lot easier to just drag and drop an effect, and then you have it there, and things are already keyframed. Like if you go up here, you can already see the keyframes, and it's pretty easy to understand how to move those keyframes around. If you wanted to alter the effect, or where effects come in, or how they interact with the footage itself. It's pretty easy to do. Oh, what happened there? So, for an hour of preliminary work, not the worst. How does the song fade out? Let's listen to that. I like that one. I think I want that one to last close to the end. That one's the last one that I want, so we'll do this one. So I'll keep them all in the end, or matching right there anyways. And then I think I'll just play around with how and when they all start fading. And this one should be right at the end. Right at the end. I'm not hating. I'm not hating how it's working out so far. Get rid of those safe margins for a moment. I want to do something different with this though. See, I know I have different. Holy grain samples. That's watermarked. This one is not watermarked. That might be what I want to use. And we're going to nest this and do film grain over the whole thing. I'm gonna save this, and it's tricky to know, exactly what the right move to do is. So here's another Sergei Eisenstein thing. This one's got factory stuff. He really does like the sacred cow imagery, doesn't he? And hopefully next week I have this in a totally different place, um, and then we can, I can do some animation and stuff over this, and because I think realistically what I need to be doing more of is actual montaging, where I'm, rather than just doing these overlays, actually bringing the meaning into the footage, or letting the audio tell me what the footage needs to mean, rather than just kind of making a, as much as I do like how all this stuff looks, um, I think trying to get it to say something more than just reinterpreting Eisenstein movies. As much as I do like that notion, I feel like there's definitely something more that can be done here. Um, 'Cause yeah, yeah. When you are making a music video about somebody somebody who holds such a place in film theory, you want to be careful of the way you edit stuff together for sure. I think I need to build the effects back up if I want to bring them back in at the end. We can't just go back and forth. I think it's fine right here, but I think to cut back and forth doesn't make much sense quite yet. I feel like it's not earned. But yeah, and if I highly recommend making music videos even to songs that aren't yours. If you have a favorite song and you also want to do video editing, one of the best things you can do for yourself is um, just go on, type into YouTube the name of the song you want, use a YouTube to MP3 converter to get the file, bring it into whatever editing software you have, whether it's iMovie or Final Cut Pro or Premiere, which is what I'm using, or any of them, and then just start, whether or not you're going out with a camera yourself and shooting the footage, which is also a great practice to do. Go out and just shoot footage that, because sometimes I feel like when you're starting out editing or starting out being a filmmaker or anything like that, um, actually making stuff feels really inaccessible. Um, but I don't think the camera matters at all. Even if all you have is an iPhone or a little Sony Handycam or something like that. Um, just go out and shoot as much as you can. Shoot whatever draws you to shoot, and then one of the best practices you can do is use that footage in a song you really like. Because especially when you take editing classes and stuff, at least when I took editing classes and stuff at college, one of the things they tell you is don't edit to music. But I think when you're just practicing, it's great because you start to learn beats and stuff like that, and like you understand that like a song has these, you know, like you're listening and I put the cut right here, you know, right on the beat so that it feels like it transitions and stuff like that. But even without the song, you still have this sense of movement and you know where to put the cuts and stuff like that. And it's a great way to teach, especially when you don't, you know exactly what you're doing yet, because the music can kind of tell you what to do with the image, which when you're first starting out is a great thing to have, because it's like you might not have a professor telling you how to cut something, but at least you have a song telling you this is where this thing needs to change, and like all you need to do is feel it out and you can tell exactly where it is. um, but I feel like I talk about it in every video, but definitely use the archive, because if you like click on any of this stuff and you scroll down and you look at usage, you can see the public domain mark, and like every video will have something different. Like earlier I wanted to use this one because this is just like a beautiful montage of pinball machines and colors and lights and stuff, and this would be great for like background imagery and stuff like that. But if you scroll down to this one, this is attribution non-commercial, and if you click right on that, the Creative Commons website will pop up and it'll describe exactly how you can use it. Because it's like I could redistribute this material, but I couldn't change it. I couldn't do anything else if I wanted to release this music video. And it's non-commercial, so if my friend starts to garner followers on YouTube or something and wants to monetize on his channel, he can't use this stuff. Um, so if I'm, put that into the music video and then, you know, I mean, first off, I feel guilty for the filmmaker that made this, because it's beautiful and I wouldn't want to steal from them or anything like that. But in the same sense, you can also get your video flagged and taken down and demonetized, and that's a whole that's a whole big thing that is, hard to deal with. But when you're actually looking on this website, um, a lot of stuff is really good, and if you're trying to find some, just random footage to edit from. Some of these are my favorite, the Prelinger archives. Um, the home movie ones are pretty good because they've just got all these very, amateur shot on, really early 8mm and 16mm film cameras. And I even think MoMA did a big whole thing on uh yeah, like see some of this stuff is just great. And and if you scroll down and it's public domain, it's totally free to use. um and there's so much, like I was saying with montage theory before, you can easily take all these different things, look at each individual image, a woman staring off in one direction, and then you can find a different clip of, a car driving by that matches the way that that woman was looking. And you can, if you have a story that you want to tell, but you don't have the money to shoot a whole movie or write a script or anything like that, this is incredible practice for anybody who's trying to make films, is to just go on and find a bunch of stuff and use iMovie, use whatever you can, whatever's available to you. Um, I think Sony Vegas is a pretty cheap one too, which I'd really recommend. I know a lot of YouTubers use Sony Vegas. Trying to think, most computers come. I think like, you know, yeah, like I have Windows, and Windows comes free with a video editor, and it's probably not the best. It probably can't do all the kooky crazy effects that I was throwing on here in Premiere, but you don't need that kind of stuff to tell a good story. I think some of the best filmmakers have done more with less. Um, there's some filmmakers now that are just shooting on iPhones and stuff like that, and have managed to win Sundance with films that they only shot on iPhones. I think the one I can think of most recently was Tangerine, which was a beautiful movie. But yeah, so there's always different ways to do stuff um, that doesn't require any money. You can do it at home. Um, yeah, and keep looking for that stuff. And also public access TV channels. If you have a public access TV channel in your hometown, um, give them a call, because that's a government funded office that will help you make your movie, and they have cameras that you can rent out. And if you live in that town, whether it's New York City or Westchester, I know there's a public access channel in Rye that's really great, um, that I work for sometimes. But yeah, yeah. There's always ways to get the equipment, get the stuff that you need without having to shell out hundreds of dollars on cameras or editing software and stuff like that. So, you know, always keep that in mind. But yeah, thanks for watching. This was a fun create and hang. Hopefully next week I've got some progress on this video and I can show you guys some other animations and stuff. But yeah, yeah. Have a good one.